I'm Gary Null. Nice to have you with us today. We'll be talking about elderberries and how they can help you if you're overweight. We'll also explore oysters. A lot of people this time of year are eating raw oysters. I wouldn't. They're transmitting a human norovirus, so that's serious. Also today, magnetic stimulation is effective in helping Parkinson's patients walk. And older people are getting smarter, but not fitter. They're living a little longer, but they're a lot sicker than people in previous generations. And those purple potatoes, they pack cancer prevention punch even after cooking. So we have the latest on all levels of health and nutrition, plus how medical marijuana liquid extract can bring hope for children with severe epilepsy. And instant oatmeal for breakfast can help curb your appetite for lunch. First up, medical marijuana. This is from New York University. And what they're showing here is that a medicinal liquid from the marijuana is showing promises of treatment for children with severe epilepsy that do not respond to other treatments. And this was published in the American Academy of Neurology's annual meeting. And so that's very important because this is a non-toxic, completely natural medicine. And it is rich in the cannabinoids, the component of marijuana that does not include the psychoactive part of the plant that creates a high. There's no high with this. It's just the chemical extract of the plant. And it's taken by mouth daily and with enormous benefit. By the way, there's also enormous benefit with brain cancer, but in this case they were studying seizures, and they were substantially able to reduce the number of seizures by over 54% during a 12-week period. So that's good news. Also, oatmeal. Now, I'm talking about the traditional, really healthy oatmeal. There's 3 types of oatmeal. The one I would not buy is the kind of instant flakes, because a substantial amount of its basic nutrition has been removed in processing. Well, that's good for people who want something instant because it is instant, but it doesn't have the oat beta-glucan in any qualitative amount that you need. Then you have that which is slightly processed, which is much more nutritious. And then the best of all is the steel-cut oats. They're also called Irish oatmeal. Now, this is the one that really has the nutrition. It takes about 5 minutes to get it to loosen up. If you put some hot water over it and just throw a towel over it, let it sit for a while, and then when you take the towel off, this is also true for millet, which is a very tasty grain that very seldom is ever seen. I've never seen it in any restaurants. But you can make a wonderful millet burger with it, and it tastes like almonds. And it's called the poor man's protein in Africa, where it grows, and it's been used for hundreds of years. So it's a little yellow, tiny little yellow, looking like a BB, but about 1/3 the size. So anyhow, if you can put some hot water over your millet, put hot water over your still-cut oats, and just stir it around, and then put some cinnamon into both, like 1/8 of a teaspoon, which is really good for diabetics and maintaining your blood sugar level, and it's a very healing nutrient. And then you could put some goji berries in, maybe a teaspoon of walnut butter. Raw walnut butter would be great, and stir it all around, and just come back to it later. Now, maybe 15-20 minutes later. That's an ideal way of having a breakfast if you want to sustain your blood sugar, if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. If you want something to keep you from being hungry in mid-morning and going for an unhealthy snack, this will keep you good for about 5 hours. This is from Louisiana State University. This was published in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition. I'll quote it. A new study revealed that your cereal choice at breakfast may have an impact on how much you eat for lunch. And this showed that a hearty bowl of instant oatmeal, that's not what I would recommend, that's why I just gave you the distinction, help curb food intake at lunch better than eating oat-based cold cereal, even when each bowl provided the same number of calories. So, it's not the calories I care about here. The fact that they were using skim milk and using instant oatmeal when you could use steel-cut oats and almond milk and a nut butter and a nice fruit, and you have a really power-packed breakfast. But here's the point. You're creating satiety. And satiety is what keeps you from being hungry from point A to point B. And that's important. Also, from the University of Adelaide, using hot chili peppers can make a big difference in your metabolism. It also impacts your stomach and gives you a sense of fullness. Quote, the stomach stretches when it's full, which activates nerves in the stomach to tell the body that it has had enough food. We found that this activation is regulated through hot chili peppers and their receptors. And this was done at the University of Adelaide School of Medicine. So, why would this happen? It's relatively straightforward. Inside all chili peppers, by the way, which are really good for birds as well, you have a chemical substance, and it's called capsaicin, cap, C-A-P, say, S-A-I, sin, C-I-N. And it's what makes your chili bean hot. And then there's a scale of how hot it is. And it reduces your food intake. Hence, if you want to cut back on eating, but you don't really have the discipline, and once you start to eat, you don't know how to turn it off and put your fork and spoon down. So this is one of the ways that you can start with an appetizer, let's say soup or a salad. Then have your hot chili pepper. And you can actually get capsules, and it tells you the heat index. Now, some will say very hot, and that's your best. That's about 75,000 heat units. Now, mind you, it's not going to burn you. It actually heals. It heals ulcers. It thins your blood. It helps space your red blood cells. It helps prevent strokes. It increases microcirculation to your brain. In fact, it's one of the best things in the world you can take before you go to bed at night to help prevent a stroke while you're sleeping. That, coenzyme Q10, and vitamin E and vitamin C, 3 of the best things in the world for your heart, your circulation, your endothelium. So, if you're overweight, if you have a tendency to overeat, then simply take 1 or 2 of your hot chili capsules, and now your stomach will have a sensation of being full. Your brain will then tell you, we're full, stop eating. And hence, you won't get those extra and unnecessary calories. I believe that everyone should be having elderberry extract every morning. Quite simply, it is one of the single most important natural healing berries on the planet. And it's not used in the United States at all. It used to be. My great-grandparents used it, but no one I know uses it at all today. And yet here's this mighty little berry. It's a little tiny berry. And it looks much like a black currant. I grow them. In fact, I have a whole fence full of them. And I go over, I must have, I don't know, in season. They're in season right now, in fact. The whole seasons are mixed up right now. Normally loquats, which are a wonderful little egg-sized shaped fruit, originally from China, then taken to Italy. And they're known as an Italian fruit, but they're actually not from Italy. And they have a yellow, little thin flesh underneath and a big bunch of seeds. So you eat that little flesh, but there's so many that come out on a tree. It's easy to get 1,000 on a tree. And normally they come out in March for about 3 weeks. Now they're coming out in August and again in January. I'm seeing all these cycles off on all forms of fruit. That's how hot it's been, and how this hot in the summer and having very cold or very hot winters change the cycle of the plants. In any case, the elderberries are consistent. They grow from generally June through September, and you'll get bunches of them. I mean, like thousands upon thousands upon thousands. You could fill a whole cereal bowl every day, which I do because it's very good for the birds and for the other animals. It's great for animals. I make a smoothie each morning that I give the animals. In fact, I make sure my dogs and cat get this before they get the regular food. And with animals, the raw food that they get is what they eat in nature. And the reason that a lot of animals don't live long in the wild is because of how polluted the water is and the impact of those parasites in the water upon their liver and their heart and their kidneys. That's why the same identical animal in captivity, unfortunately I'm not talking about in a zoo, but let's say in a sanctuary where it has a natural habitat, it can double or even triple its lifespan if it's given clean water. It's also true for humans as well, by the way. People think they can just drink anything and it doesn't impact their health. It does, especially those high fructose corn syrup sodas really devastate your liver. That's why non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a pandemic, not an epidemic, a pandemic in the United States. And yet you don't hear a single word by anyone about it because you have too many powerful corporations that would immediately have their lobbyists called and says, such and such senator or the president or the attorney general or surgeon general was going to say something about high fructose corn syrup, and that's going to impact our market. And suddenly these people get a call and you'd stop it. I know that for a fact because it actually happened to me when I was on PBS in Washington, D.C. for my 5th original program. I've done 35 now, original programs on PBS stations. And it was a very successful presentation. The station manager, the new station manager, loved it. He had come from being program director in Detroit, a very nice guy. And he came over afterwards. He said, we just got a call from Sharon Rockefeller, who heads the local station board. And she had gotten a call from the sugar people who said, don't have him back on, because I was pouring sugar out of a bag showing how much the average kid eats in America each day, and it's 40 teaspoons a day. And those statistics came from the USDA, and the bag had been poured by David Slater, my in-house attorney, and measured on a gram scale and then sealed. So when I opened the bag and was showing, this is how much sugar that you're eating without even being aware of it, because it's hidden in foods. And it turns out, I didn't know, that Sharon Rockefeller sits on the board of Pepsi-Cola, one of the largest users of high fructose corn syrup and sugar in the world. So, and then you start to look at who sits on the board of all these PBS stations. And it's frequently either very orthodox physicians aligned with the pharmaceutical industry, or it's major business people like Henry Kravitz, the man who has caused millions of people lose their job, who sat for years as president of PBS board Channel 13. Why are they on these boards? Simple. They can write the checks, or they can get others to write checks. Just like, why do you think they're on the board of one of my high school friends, who is now retired, was one of the top people at the Museum of Modern Art for a long time. And one time we had a conversation, and I said, why are all these people who are culturally illiterate? They have no real knowledge of the artists of different periods. And this person said, it's very simple. Do you have any idea how much money you have to be able to contribute or paintings you have to donate at any museum to get inside? That's how it works today. And I did some investigation. It's true. So nothing is ever quite what it seems. Now we get back to the elderberry. But the elderberry is everything it seems to be. It is one of the most perfect healing fruits in the world. This is from the University of Connecticut. As a major study, quote, black elderberry extract may improve obesity-related metabolic disturbances like triglyceride levels, inflammation, and insulin resistance. This research from the University of Connecticut said dietary anthocyanidins have been shown to reduce inflammation in animal models and to improve obesity-related complications. And black elderberry, which is, by the way, it's called Sambucus, Sambucus, U.S., Nigra, N-I-G-R-A, was one of the richest sources of these type of flavonoids. Quote, overall black elderberry extract appeared to attenuate systemic inflammation and insulin resistance that occurs with diet-induced obesity, and that means, and this was published in the British Journal of Nutrition, it means it could turn it off. Now think of what needs to be turned off as far as inflammation. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, ALS, cancer, diabetes, all forms of heart disease, fibromyalgia, arthritis, glaucoma, macular degeneration, and cataracts. All these are inflammatory. So that's one reason each day to have your elderberry extract. Now, just a few other quick things here. Oysters, according to Shanghai Ocean University, oysters not only transmit the human norovirus, they also serve as a major reservoir for these pathogens, and this is published in Applied and Environmental Microbiology, the Journal of the American Society of Microbiology. Quote, more than 80% of human norovirus genotypes were detected in oyster samples or oyster-related outbreaks. The results highlight oysters' important role in the persistence of norovirus in the environment and its transmission to humans. So, the takeaway message, if you don't want this really serious, even deadly virus, give up the oysters. Besides, raw oysters are just, to me, they're just gross looking. I mean, they open up this all kind, it looks like someone's had a really bad head cold and discharged it onto a shell and someone's eating it. Really gross, so give it up. And finally, from University School of Medicine, Seoul, Korea, magnetic stimulation, effective in helping Parkinson's patients walk. About 50% of patients with Parkinson's disease experience freezing of gait and inability to move forward while walking. This can affect not only mobility, but also balance. And in this study published in Restorative Neurology and Neuroscience, researchers report that repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, that's like a TMS, can reduce fog and improve other motor skills in these Parkinson's patients. So electrical stimulation, and especially magnetic electrical stimulation. And the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysts, quote, older populations are scoring better on cognitive tests than people the same age in the past, but they're suffering far more conditions because they're not fit. This was published in PLOS One. So what this means in just lay language is we have people who are living a little older, but they're not healthy. They're sicker because they're not taking care of themselves. And finally, the purple potato. This is from Pennsylvania State University. Quote, anthocyanin compounds found in purple potatoes may help to preserve the body's ability to enhance immune resistance of cancer even after cooking. This is published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry. So, you want to help if you have cancer anywhere in the body? Why don't you start eating purple potatoes? They're delicious, by the way. I'm Gary Null. That's the latest on health and nutrition. Let's take a break, and we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.